Some of these photos taken right before a tragedy have underlying stories to go with them. If you'd like to see a story based on one of the pictures, please let me know and I'll dedicate a full episode to such stories. This is a photo that a loving father took of his wife and 4-year-old daughter as they headed towards a vacation. All smiles in the picture. This family has no idea that the MH17 plane they're on is about to be shot down over Ukraine, killing everyone on board. Investigators believe that the passengers remained alive and conscious during the 3 to 4 minute plummet from 33,000 feet. In 2008, a salesman named Travis Alexander was killed by his ex-girlfriend, Jodi Arias. This photo of him was taken in the shower at 5:29 p.m. on the day of his death. His lifeless body was later discovered on the bathroom floor in that same room after he had been stabbed and shot. It is thought that only moments after this photo, he was killed. Devastation struck Southeast Asia on December 26, 2004, when a massive tsunami pummeled the coastline. 230,000 people perished in the disaster. 31-year-old Deborah Gerlich was on vacation in Thailand at the time and was killed by the tsunami. Deborah's parents found this photo, undeveloped, on her camera after they retrieved her belongings. These two happy young women, Colette Marino on the left and Ashley Theobald on the right, were on their way to Colette's bachelorette party in Missouri when they snapped this car selfie. The women were in a head-on collision just moments later, and Colette didn't survive. She suffered fatal injuries from the crash and was pronounced dead at the hospital. This is 15-year-old Gary Slug alongside his mother as they parted for a vacation together. A mere 3 hours after this beaming selfie, the plane, Malaysia Airlines flight MH17, they were traveling on was shot down by a missile. All 296 passengers and crew members perished, including Gary and his mother. Jarrid Michael did not necessarily think this plan through. In an attempt to get a selfie standing in front of a moving train, he put himself directly into harm's way. He decided to position himself on the tracks directly in front of the path of a moving train. However, Jarrid should be thanking his lucky stars for what happened next. He is one of the lucky few on this list. The train conductor spotted Jarrid just in the nick of time and was actually able to kick his foot out of the moving train and push Jarrid out of the way with his work boot. This is one of those moments where you learn a valuable life lesson. This is the disturbing last photograph of Pacific Southwest Airlines Flight 182. The doomed aircraft collided with another plane over San Diego on September 25, 1978 at 9 a.m. All 137 passengers aboard were killed, as well as 7 civilians on the ground. 22 homes were destroyed as a result of the impact. Bud Dwyer was a treasurer of Pennsylvania during the 1980s. On January 22, 1987, he called a news conference. To everybody's surprise, he pulled out a .357 Magnum revolver and shot himself in the head. His suicide was viewed on television sets across the state. This photo was snapped right after Dwyer pulled the gun out. This infamous photo was taken on November 22, 1963, as a motorcade driving President John F. Kennedy and First Lady Jacqueline Kennedy as they were heading through Dallas. This is the final image taken of JFK while he was still alive. He was shot and killed by assassin Lee Harvey Oswald, who was posed at the Book School Depository building just moments later. In 1970, 14-year-old Australian Keith Sapsford inexplicably hid in the wheel well of a Japan-bound flight out of Sydney. An amateur photographer testing his new camera lens unintentionally captured a young boy's free fall to his death. He dropped an estimated 200 feet until he hit the ground without living to tell the tale. A hiker named Darsh Patel was killed by a bear while hiking through New Jersey woods in 2014. He managed to capture images of this 300-pound animal right before it gored him to death. Patel's phone was later recovered, although quite noticeably with the bear's teeth marks left in it. In 1961, a Boeing 707 aircraft crashed while traveling from New York City to Belgium. 73 people were killed in the tragic crash. This tally unfortunately included the entire U.S. figure skating team, which was en route to the World Figure Skating Championships in Prague. Here, the team looks happy to be embarking on their journey. Russian Daredevil Pavel Kashin is seen here as he attempts a backflip on a wall next to a 16-story drop. He lost his balance after he landed and is about to plummet to his death in this photo. This is the last photo taken of doomed luxury liner Titanic before she sank in the Atlantic Ocean on April 15, 1912. More than 1,500 people perished in the horrifying maritime accident. Moe IRA Smith, a New York City Police Department officer, is shown below assisting an injured man away from the World Trade Center just after the 9/11 terror attacks. Minutes later, she rushed into the South Tower of the WTC to help evacuate more victims when the building collapsed. She was the only female New York City Police Department officer to be killed in the attacks. She was also the first police officer to report the attacks after she witnessed the first building hit by the plane. Kisuh, a 58-year-old father and husband, is pictured below just before his untimely death. This picture was taken after he'd been pushed in front of an oncoming train in New York City subway. By looking at the photo, we can clearly see this poor man's ill-starred fate. An innocent young boy named James Bolger was abducted, tortured, and murdered by two 10-year-old boys in England in 1993. Poor James was taken from a local shopping center. His abduction was captured in the surveillance footage. The first outbreak of Ebola in 1976 killed 280 people. This is a nurse named Mayinga Nasika, pictured just days before she succumbed to the virus she had helped to fight. This is Xenia Ignite. The 17-year-old wanted a dramatic selfie, and she got it. Right after this photo was snapped, she lost her balance and fell to her death. William Becker was the mayor of St. Louis from 1941 to 1943. On August 1, 1943, he participated in a demonstration for a new aircraft. As soon as it took off, its right wing broke, and all 10 passengers were killed. This is the group picture before takeoff. This may seem like a humorous picture, but the family photo of two brothers, Michael Makhotin on the right, 18 years old, and his brother Sean on the left at 12, was taken on the camping trip in 1975 in California's Sequoia National Park. The brothers were both struck by lightning soon after the picture was snapped, and fortunately, both survived. Groom Martin Calhoun was heartbroken when his beloved mother perished in an auto accident on her way home from his wedding reception. This is the last photo taken of her. What was a previously joyous occasion will now be remembered for a tragic event afterward. In the background of this photo, you're able to see domestic terrorist Timothy McVeigh with the rental truck that carried the explosives that killed 168 people in the Alfred P. Murrah Federal Building in downtown Oklahoma City. This surveillance photo was captured right before the bombs went off. This is the 2000 Air Force France Flight 4590 from Paris to New York City as it caught fire during takeoff. All 109 aboard died. The majority of the passengers on board were on their way to New York to embark on a cruise all the way to Ecuador. This was the only fatal accident ever for the Concorde airplane. After this crash, this type of plane was retired from use. 1980s rock group Great White held a reunion show at a nightclub called The Station in 2003. Tragically, the venue caught fire and burned to the ground, killing 100 people. This photo seems to show a band member noticing the flames. It remains one of the deadliest nightclub fires in history. Both the tour manager of Great White and the club owners later stood trial for the deaths.